today. Good thing to do. So the only thing reactionary about this moment now is the fact that I'm going today rather than tomorrow as a defensive flip. Coach thought it would be a good idea for me to just immediately address the group after being attacked this morning the way that I was. So communicating for a long period of time about the fall, the season, media, and noodling it, not just communicating and noodling. I was under the impression that I didn't have to do post-game media. That's what I was told. So, but I wanted to come here and just address that piece because contrary to at least what was depicted, I've never run away from anything in my life. I've never not stood up and been accountable and responsible to my work and what I'm been entrusted to do. That's never happened and hasn't and will not ever happen. So to be painted in that light or that way is just absolutely ridiculous and very disappointing to me. And from your perspective, I could see with a lack of communication and a miscommunication that was your perspective. So I'm not even upset with what was said or written or whatever. It's a product of a lack of communication and miscommunication. In fact, even on game day, by the time I got to the locker room, no one was there because we were stuck in the freight elevator. So I didn't get a chance to talk to Coach. I saw one of the associate athletic directors in charge of media who wanted me to go to the media. I said I was told that I didn't have to do the post-game media. And I said after that, I said, but I'll be up in the coach's locker room if you need me. If you need me to do it, I will come down and do it. So as I was walking up, I saw Danny walking down. So by the time I got out of the locker room, it was at least an hour. Coach was already occupied and almost finished. By the time he finished, I asked him, Coach, you need me to do anything right now? I saw Danny going down there. And he said, no, everyone's, I'm sure, gone. By that time, it was at least an hour later. So, situated now and thought we had a good plan, thought I had a good plan. But onward and upward. Questions?
Did you get a chance to look at the film from that game? What were your overall impressions about the defense in that game?
Yeah, listen, just so everybody can understand, statistically, it can continue to be a conversation. We don't really talk about statistics. We really don't care. We try to build the plan to keep the points down, so at the end of the game, we have one more point than our opponent. That's the defensive objective, to defend the opponent's scoreboard, the scoreboard, and how we need to win the game. In some instances, discretion is the better part of valor. And what could be seen as trying to stop the opponent ends up working against you when you have a particular opponent in a particular style play. So we built a game plan, articulated to the players. They did a wonderful job in game one putting it together. They were fantastic, just like they've been since the moment that I met them. I've heard conversations from other people about all kinds of stuff. We have really, really wonderful young men. They're talented. There's some inexperience, but they're going to gain valuable experience. They gained valuable experience on Saturday evening. There's not a player that we're disappointed in. Pleased with everyone. We have a lot to coach. We did things wrong. We got to get stuff cleaned up. But in terms of buying in, understanding what we were trying to get done, working to execute the plan, which was, as you saw, and we didn't hide from it, we didn't want to have 50-50 shot ball, jump balls down the field and have explosive plays downfield that were point-producing explosive plays. The longest run was 14. The longest pass was 29. And both of those players were hit. at or near the line of scrimmage. The run had 10 yards of yak yardage, yard after contact, and the pass had 22 yards of yak yardage after contact. That pass was the only pass over 20 yards. We had a plan to have them put plays together, as many as they needed to, that eventually a drive would stall, an error would happen, interception, a third down we got off the field, a red zone stop, and that was going to be the tail of the tape, rather than tying down on those players with inexperienced, talented players on fire for their work, smart players that we love, but new players to the game against some large physical receivers. So we were excited about the plan. We executed the plan and won the game. So awesome. It's so incredible. The work we got done today was just great. To be able to look at the cut-ups, we have positional cut-ups, but then we'll make cut-ups that we watch with the unit. We'll watch, let's just call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's not what we call it, but there's cut-ups that we watch as a unit that we think it's important that everyone sees at one time. So the coaching that they had a chance to get, they were totally locked in and excited. When you can win a football game and then get all that stuff coached, I mean, that's the best. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and against the great, kudos to Arkansas State. They did it, and no different than we thought. They're a spectacularly talented offensive outfit, talented coaches, talented system, very hard to defend. We knew that going in, warp speed, tempo. We knew that going in. I thought the players were poised. Hopefully you had a chance to see, and I talked about 2 yak yardage plays after contact, but the tackling was strong. The tackling was physical. Tackling was sure in most instances. Hopefully you had a chance to see some real poise, some level-headedness out of the players. Nobody got really exacerbated and anxious and too overly excited about the ball being pushed a little bit. They settled down, and I mean, when you think about the tail of the tape, there's 6 minutes and 43 seconds to play, and they have 26 points, and 19 were given, 9 non-defensive points, a third down stop that had a personal foul that kept a scoring drive alive, and then an end of half routine play of force where we make that routine play routine, and there's not even an opportunity for them to trick the rule with 2 seconds left, for them to fake the helmet deal, however that went, to get that kick off at that time. So, even at that point, and think about that, so 26 at halftime, that all happened in the first half. It took to about 4 minutes left to kick that field goal to get the first points of the second half. So at 4 minutes left, we're ahead by 2 full scores, 4 minutes to play. It didn't need to be as exciting as it was down the stretch. But absolutely. I would think that Coach has a pretty good idea of the things that I like to do. I've got a pretty good idea of the things that he likes to do, and they're just getting started. We're just getting started. So there's part of that. There's a growth development process. This is not instant by any means, and the way that we work, even more than that, is not instant by any means. We don't, sell the farm, so to speak. We're deeply entrenched with defending and how to do it properly, and so we'll work through our process. We've got an understanding of their offense. He's got an understanding of our defense. And he's a great coach and a good guy.
What are some of the staples of Coach Taggart's offense?
A staple of Coach Taggart offense is that they're tough. He's a tough guy. He loves to run the football. They run the football. I mean, there's a lot of window dressing that goes on, but they run the football, and they run it well. And that's been a hallmark of all of his teams. They've always run it well. And this team is no different, obviously. Statistically, you had a chance to see that. So those are hallmarks of his teams. They They are aggressive. They're tough, and they love to run the football.
In terms of specific preparation from week 1 to week 2, how much can you carry over in terms of that tempo and the speed that you saw in week 1?
Yeah, spread is spread. Like you're saying, you got to defend 53 and a third. You know, you gotta be sure you're covered down properly. It is run. It is a triple option attack, so to speak. You have dive, alley, and force being attacked on every down. They'll do some things to stretch you vertically off of play action pass, which creates another challenge. But although it's not exactly the same, there are some similarities. More run.
How pleased were you with the adjustment you guys made on defense in the second half?
The first part of the question, I'm sorry.
How pleased were you with the adjustment you guys made?
Very pleased. The coaches did a beautiful job at halftime of creating some new thoughts, tweaking some alignments. There were some small nuances. They had run an insert run that really we hadn't seen. We quickly made an adjustment and kind of shut that off. And the players, to me, took the field in the second half equipped to get off the field. And like you guys had a chance to see, like we've all talked about, probably like a Garth Brooks song, the unanswered prayers, right? So we probably got the best thing for the team that we absolutely needed. Although you get the feeling that it didn't need to be like that, it probably was exactly what we needed.
How much can a guy like DeAndre Thomas get from an experience like that, and just the faith you showed him? I mean, I saw he was out there in the last plays of the game out there as a true freshman.
Yeah, no, he doesn't behave that way. He doesn't kind of act like that. He's very confident. He's tough. He loves football, and he's got real high football intelligence. And with that said, we can't crown him or anoint him. He's still a freshman, and he had some fit things and kind of floating around in there that create a problem for our defense. So he needs to just drill down on his job and doing his job. Young players tend to get captured with the ball. They can't keep their eyes off the ball and end up floating around looking for it rather than just drilling down on their jobs.
Teachable moments for the defense in week 1. What would you say maybe are some of those teachable moments for defenders after 1 week?
Well, we had the personal foul. We had those 2 yak yardage pieces that resulted in the longest run of the day at 14 and the longest pass of the day at 20. The only pass over 20 yards. So and they were both fairly routine tackles. It wouldn't have taken a lot to get the guy on the ground. So smart play in the personal foul. There was some red zone, really strong red zone work. We had produced an output of 3.3 points per red zone penetration, which is really good. We counted 6 drives in the red zone that resulted after the points ended up being 3.3. So really good red zone play. There were some real teachable moments with effort. We have a code that we call it, but there were some great effort plays that's kind of saved some plays, that erased some other issues or errors in the curl or with a tackle. So there were some real moments like that, good and bad.
Coach, last season, Kyron Williams led the team in interceptions. This year he's a third backup. What has the defensive staff seen out of him so far?
We're really pleased with Kyron. He plays a vital role for our team, and he's really doing a nice job with his role. So no one is disappointed in him. He's a wonderful teammate. I'm glad to be on the team with him in the role that he's serving. We grade every player, every play, every day, and that's where his evaluation has come out. We set those participation patterns weekly. In fact, every player on defense knew exactly how much they were going to play on Thursday. So we do a diligent job there in sharing with the players what their participation patterns are, all things being equal for game day. So we stay on top of it, and and it's not a secret. We don't communicate in cloak and dagger. Everything is out in the open. It's all reinforced with video cut-ups and situated that way.
The defense in the third quarter particularly was really effective at getting them off the field, like you said. Their time of possession was really low. Is that a snapshot of what's going to be able to make you guys effective this year?
Listen, like I said, you know, every game has its own recipe for winning, and if we need to allow for some areas of the field to have them have opportunities in there to make sure that we eliminate or minimize other major liabilities, then we'll have to do that. And each week's different. So we look at what the team does to produce and score points, really, what they do to produce and score points. And then we try to prevent that. We look at their major assets against our liabilities and see how those matchups are going to be an issue or not an issue and try to minimize that whole piece. So it isn't where we go into each week with the same ideology, mentality, and plan. We set the systems, the call progression, the call patterns. The players know exactly they knew exactly going in how the game was going to go and what we intended to do and why. And it was an ultimate buy-in. They did a beautiful job with it. So I can't forecast out into the future exactly how each piece is going to go. And you also saw adjusted systems and adjusted calls and adjusted alignments in the second half even. So we go in at halftime and make necessary adjustments. It's happening in between each series, and it's happening for sure at halftime and obviously week to week.